Line. With me is Crystal Kirby with SocialServe.com. SocialServe.com is a 501c3 nonprofit. They actually power the website, and IFA is kind of the funding agency behind the website. So I'm going to go ahead and just give a little brief intro while we're still getting people logged on and into the webinar. So the Iowa Finance Authority, we have seen a need throughout Iowa for a central rental housing locator site for a number of years, and we tried to do it internally for a long time and just didn't have the staff resources to keep a database like that current and up to date. And so we started looking back in spring of 2013 to find someone that was an expert in doing just that, a rental housing locator. So we issued an RFP in June of 2013, and in August we awarded it to SocialServe.com. They do rental housing locators in 30-plus other states, and we're really truly the subject matter experts in what we were kind of looking for. They have a call center that has a bank of 50 employees, and then I believe some of them are bilingual, and they're open wonderful hours. I think it's 8 to 7 Central Time. And then you can always access the website 24/7. So it just kind of incorporated everything that we were looking for. So we worked with them to do some initial landlord outreach, and then we launched this site at the beginning of 2014. So we're just a little over a year old. We've had wonderful luck. We have over 40,000 units listed on IowaHousingSearch.org, but it's our goal to get the over 300,000 units in Iowa listed on this site. So we have a wonderful database to work from. As I mentioned, it's funded by the Iowa Finance Authority. It was developed by SocialServe.com. The Iowa Finance Authority is committed to this website. We believe it's a service we should be providing, and we're committed to keeping it free, and free for everyone, free for landlords to list, free for social service providers to search for their clientele, and free for any Iowan or anyone looking to move to or come to Iowa to be able to access and look and see what's available to them. So without any further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Crystal. You're looking at her screen here, and she's going to provide the in-depth training, and so you're hearing it straight from the expert. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks, Emily. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Crystal Kirby with SocialServe.com, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to show you the Iowa Housing Search website, whether it's your first time seeing it or you've already did a little bit of clicking around on your own. As Emily mentioned, it's completely free for you to advertise your rental properties, and you can advertise any type of rental on the website. So that's everything from large multifamily complexes, whether they are tax credit and subsidized properties or regular market rate rentals or both, all the way down to private rentals, and even things like rooms for rent can be listed on the website. So whether it's a duplex, a mobile home, a single family home, or a large multifamily complex, they can all be listed on the website for free. And there's never any limit on the number of properties that you can list, or how many listings or pictures or anything that you can have on the website, and there's never going to be a fee for any of that. Now, the way that the service works, and if you want to get set up for your free account, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. As Emily mentioned, we have a completely toll-free bilingual call center, and that phone number is printed on all of our promotional materials. It's also on our Contact Us tabs, and it's also on the very bottom of every page of the website. So if you're clicking around and you want the toll-free number, it's right there on the bottom of the page for you. And as she mentioned, again, it's on our Contact Us tab as well. That call center is a fully staffed, toll-free bilingual call center, and they are there from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central to help you with your listings, to set you up with your free accounts, and also to help tenants and individuals that are looking for housing with their housing searches if they don't feel comfortable navigating on their own or they don't have internet access. So you can call in, and if it's your first time, we'll get you set up with your username and password. You now have 24/7 access to put properties on the website, and any changes or listings that you make, they do happen in real time. So if it's 10 o'clock at night and you add a new listing, it's going to go on the website immediately. If you put up new pictures, if you change a property to rented, it's going to come down immediately. But if you don't want to go online and you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can call the call center, again, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we're happy to do any of those changes or updates to your listings for you. Now, if you don't want to call in and get your username and password the first time over the phone, you can go online and submit a registration. And so if we click on one of these list housing links, and then it's going to bring up a list of different cities. You could, of course, click on the city where you want to list, but you can just use the Register Here link at the top of the page. And I just want to show you quickly some of the information that we ask for, just so if you're filling this out, you want to know why we need this information. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Now, you'll see there's always a link to reset your password. Once you have an account, you don't need to set up a new account every time you list a property. There's also a link directing you to our phone number if you just want to give us a call. Now, we do ask for your first and last name, and it tells you this is public, but it also tells you that you can change or hide your public contact listing information once we create your listing. So this is just for our purposes. When you fill out the registration, we want to know who submitted the registration, so when we give you a phone call, you're not confused and we know who to ask for. It also helps us look for things like duplicate registrations. SocialServe.com has housing locators in 35 different states now. So what we do encounter are property providers that are already using our service. Maybe they're already using our service in Iowa, and in Nebraska, and they see the new Iowa site, and they go to sign up for an account for IowaHousingSearch. Once you have an account with us, you can list properties in any state that we serve, and you don't need to have separate accounts for each region. Just one username and password, you can list properties across the country in any region we serve. So again, we want to know who submitted the registration, and that helps us avoid a lot of confusion. But on your actual listing, you can change it to property manager, you can change it to Mr. Smith. You don't have to put your full name out there if you don't want to. Now we ask you to designate, are you a private owner? Are you a housing authority, development group? Are you a management company? Just to tell us who you are. You can also put your management company or development company name in here. You can put your complex name, and if you have your own website, you can put a link to your website. Now, everything with the blue asterisk is required, so if you don't want to fill out this additional information, you don't have to, but you can just tell us, who you are, what kind of provider. You do have to provide one phone number where we're able to reach you, and I'll explain the update cycle in just a moment, but that's so we can reach you about questions about your property or to update your listings and keep them active on the website. Also, so people, prospective tenants can contact you and inquire about the properties. If you list an alternate number, you can choose whether that's going to be public or just for us to use. And if you're more comfortable speaking Spanish and you read Spanish, this is asking you if you prefer to be called by one of our bilingual representatives. And if you choose yes, then you're going to pop up in the queue for one of our bilingual reps to give you a call. And if you happen to have Iowa properties but you're living in a different time zone, just tell us what time zone you're in. That way we don't ever call you too early in the morning and wake you up. Now, the other thing that people mainly ask about is, why do we ask for your mailing address? And it's part of our contract with the Iowa Finance Authority and actually all the regions that we work in, that we cannot sell, share, distribute, or do anything with your landlord contact information other than use it to update your listings. We're not going to mail you anything unless you ask for something printed out from your listing to be mailed to you. We only use this to look for those duplicate registrations. So if your name and your address matches an account we already have, that tells us maybe you just need to reset your password. We can give you a phone call and avoid setting you up with 2 accounts. You can provide an email if you like, and that can just be private for us to use for your email updates, or you can put it on your listing. We do ask you if you're able to take Spanish phone calls. We ask you if you do a criminal background check or a credit history check. If you charge an application fee, and if so, how much is the fee? Is it negotiable, and is it per adult, or is that per household? And you're going to see how this ties over to our search form in just a moment. Now, we also ask you if there's any specific documentation that you require when someone wants to apply for the property. So whether that's photo ID, pay stubs, verification of employment, whatever you require, you can type that in this box, and that's also going to appear on your listing. This way, if someone's really excited about your property, they can read on the listing what they need to bring with them, and they can put in an application while they're there. They don't have to make a separate trip back across town because they didn't bring all the paperwork that they need with them to apply for the property. And in the bottom section, if you're registering on your own or if you're talking to us on the phone, we're going to ask you if you want to be promoted as a property provider that provides alternate living quarters for any of the following special needs populations. We'll just go through this list of populations, and you can say yes or no. You don't have to tell us why or give us any reasons, a reason behind your decisions. And this is never publicly viewable. What this is on the back side of the system, so for example, if I say yes, I want to promote to veterans, your property is still going to appear on the public side of the website for everyone to view. But caseworkers who've gone through a special training with us, they have to sign a user agreement and a confidentiality agreement, they get a secure username and password that lets them search everything that the public can search on the website. But they can also search for providers that want to work with the populations they serve. So this is basically just a way to connect the caseworkers with the providers that are already advocating and wanting to work with these groups. Now, if one of the caseworkers does a housing search and your property pops up, that means it meets the housing needs that the client has, and you've said you want to work with the population they serve. But this isn't saying that you're obligated to house this client. You're going to screen them the same way that you would anyone else. It doesn't lock you into any sort of agreement. It's just a way of connecting them with your property, and they'll contact you from there, and it'll be up to you whether you end up offering or renting your property to that tenant or not. And then you get to choose your password, and now you have you're all set up with your 24/7 access. From here, we can help you with your listing over the phone, and we're happy to do that. Or again, you can log in and do any of your property listings on your own. Now, I do want to show you real quick before I go into the property provider tools that you guys are really going to be interested in. When people go in to look for housing, now they can go in and search on their own on the website. They can also call the call center, and we do the housing searches for them. We'll give them your listing information over the phone. We also email, mail, and fax out listing information all day long. Our website also can be translated into Spanish, so if someone's more comfortable navigating the page in Spanish, and of course I'm only on a cities page, but you can see it'll translate the entire page into Spanish, and you can do that from any point within the website. We also embedded the Google Translate tool, so if someone is more comfortable navigating in one of these other languages, they can use Google Translate to do that. Now, when I go in and go to do a housing search, there's a basic, an advanced, and an accessible search feature. Now, the basic's very straightforward. It asks, do they have a Section 8 voucher or do they have a VASH voucher? We work with housing authorities and other agencies that have their landlords that want to promote to voucher holders, list their properties on the website, and designate them to voucher holders. So if I check yes, I have a voucher, this is going to show me the properties where the landlord's promoted to Section 8. If I don't check that, I'm not going to see the properties that are being promoted to Section 8. I'll just see the ones where the landlords did not select that. Now, I can put in the number of beds and baths. I can put in the rental range that I'm looking for. Clients can also search by proximity to a specific address, or actually search by a specific address, a zip code, and there's always a link to the relevant zip codes. So I can pull this up and copy and paste if they want to search more than one zip code. I can search by things like the smoking policy, proximity to public, I'm sorry, I keep jumping ahead to that one, proximity to public transportation, and the landlord language preference if I need a landlord that can speak Spanish. Now when they call in the call center, we do this advanced search with them. And of course they can do the search on their own. If you're searching the website, you do not need to sign up for an account. You don't need a username and password. People can search the website completely anonymously. But I can go in and put in, you know, the number of bedrooms or bathrooms that I'm looking for. I can put in the rent range that I'm looking for. Again, the zip code, proximity to public transportation, to shopping, to a hospital. If I'm looking for senior housing, I can look for the age range that I qualify for, or I can exclude that from my search results. I can do proximity to a specific address and put the address in and pick what kind of search perimeter I want to look around in. If I'm out in the neighborhood where I want to look for rental properties and I'm on my mobile browser, I can enable this feature and it'll actually do a proximity search based on my location. If we're dealing with clients with limited income, we can look for medium income properties or properties that are income based and sliding scale. We can also look by the specific type of housing. If it's someone that's looking, you know, they don't want to be in a large apartment complex and they're looking for something smaller, we can choose one of these other property types. There's some additional fields in here like pet friendly. These are all fields that you can designate on your housing listing and then the client can search by these amenities. But then also, that you'll probably remember this from the registration, if it's a caseworker or a client that knows they're going to have an issue with their criminal check or their credit history, they can go ahead and look for properties that don't require these. And that way they don't spend time trying to apply for a property they can't qualify for, and ideally you get more qualified inquiries from tenants. If you do have those background check criteria and they can't pass them, they won't be calling you trying to apply for your property. And once we put in the criteria that they need or that they're looking for, it's going to tell us the properties that we found that meet their search criteria. I didn't fill in a lot of amenities, so we did get a large number of properties back. We can then plot the properties on a map, and the maps are interactive, so people can click on a specific unit from the map and see basic information, also get the contact information. The maps are interactive, and if I click on a different area, it remembers what I was looking for, and I can do a proximity search from this point, or I can change my search criteria. And I'm just going to hide this for a moment because it is rather large. Now, in addition to everything being printer friendly and also being able to translate into Spanish, if any of you are in the affordable housing business, I'll go ahead and tell you that listing your properties on the website can help you meet some of your affirmative marketing requirements. You're making your listing available in paper form. It's available through a live call center. It's also available you know, over the phone, email, mail, and fax form. But all of our websites, as well as being translatable, are coded in really strict coding guidelines to make sure that they work with all assistive technology devices. That means if someone has to use a screen reader or a helmet pointer, they're going to be able to navigate this search and locate the housing on their own. So putting your listings on here does help you meet some of that affirmative marketing requirement. Now there's always a series of icons associated with the property, a smoke-free property versus a no smoking property, seniors only, landlord speaks Spanish, if there are income restrictions, if there are accessibility features, pet friendly, washer dryer hookup or access, and of course pictures included. Now when clients are looking at the listings, this is how a basic results page would look with all the details. They can see the basic information here of the property that they're looking at. There's a map link for the specific unit. And all the addresses are actual links to the full property listing details. So if I click on any one of these, it's going to bring me up to the full property listing details. And from this page, I can click through and look at the additional pictures. I can also see all the contact information that they chose to make public. I can see all the information about the unit. I can see the different deposit amounts and fees that I'm going to have to pay, utilities included. And as you continue to scroll down, other amenities and features included in the property. Anything that's considered an accessible feature will have that accessible icon. And when you're actually doing the listing, which you guys are going to see in just a moment, there's only about 15 required fields of information. The rest of these are optional fields that you can fill in, but you don't have to complete your listing. And if you're doing your listing with us over the phone, we'll really expedite this process for you so you don't have to go through all these fields. We can go through the form really quickly and get your property listed very easily. We're also only going to ask you the questions that pertain to your property. So if you're not an apartment complex, I don't need to ask you about the different amenities and features that are available at apartment complexes. There's also going to be a section where you can include anything that you felt like we didn't cover in the form or that you just want to highlight. There's an amenities and a property comment section where you can type extra information. Now again, these can translate, they can be printer friendly and easily printed out. You can do a map link from here and do directions to the property. Every property in the system has its own unique ID number, and you'll notice this number appears up here in the URL as well. So what that means is I could easily copy and paste this into an email and say, hey, let's go look at this property this weekend, and email it to somebody. It's going to bring them back to this page with just the specific property that I'm interested in. Now you'll also notice most of these say available or waiting list as the status. Let's see if we have any others in here. So the available and waiting list, these are all apartment complexes. Anything that is a multifamily property is only going to have the status of available or waiting list. So let's say, for example, these 2-bedroom units. On site, maybe they have 50 total and they have 10 available. As long as they have at least one available, you'll see this listing one time on our list with the status available. You're not going to see it 10 different times, and you're not going to know they specifically have 10 units. At the point when it gets to they don't have any more available, they can be marked as rented and no one will see the listing information, or they can be changed to waiting list. This way it's still publicly viewable. People can see the information about the property and see if they would even be interested before trying to inquire about a waiting list. In this case, it has income restrictions, so they could see if they even qualify before trying to get on the waiting list. Now the other status that you'll see, if it's an individual private rental, there'll be a specific date that the property is listed as being available. Now with the large multifamily complexes, we do update your listings every 28 days. And the way that that works, if you log into your account and you do anything to your listings, that's going to push you forward for another 28 days. If you call us and we do anything to your account, that's going to push you forward for another 28 days. But let's say 28 days go by and your listing, your account hasn't been touched and you haven't called us. At that point, it queues up an email reminder that just says, we want to verify your property is still available and keep giving out your listing information. Please click on this link to keep your listings updated and on the website. When you click on that link, if there's nothing to change, you log right back out and you're updated for another 28 days. If you don't respond to that email, we do start calling you to verify that your listings are still available and make sure we can keep them listed on the website. And if we can't reach you, we do have to temporarily disable the listing. We don't delete anything. We don't want you to have to spend time relisting those properties, but we do disable them until you either log in and confirm you still have availability, or you give us a call back and confirm your vacancy, and then we automatically reactivate the listing. For the individual private rentals, that happens every 14 days instead of every 28. And also for the large multifamily complexes, we do have some providers that we work with that are on a very long waiting list. and we can put you on a longer update cycle for those accounts. And we can talk to you about that when we do your listings or your registration. In addition to the advanced form, we also have an accessible form that lets the client look for the specific accessibility features that they need. So maybe you don't have a completely accessible unit with a roll-in shower and all these kind of features, but you do have a first floor unit and it's designated as first floor, or you have flat or no stepped entryway. We do have clients that will call us and they're not in a wheelchair, but they have mobility issues that don't allow them to go up and down stairs. So we can look specifically for units on the first floor that have flat or no stepped entryways. Maybe we don't find any that are currently available. Well, we can come back and look for flat or no stepped entryway and properties that have accessible elevators and see if we can find any of those that specific need. So I just wanted to show you quickly what that what the search looks like when the clients are going in and searching for your properties. Now, when you actually go in and log into your account with your username and password, you're just going to use the login links, and I'm already logged in, but then it'll prompt you to put in your username and password that you have. When you get logged into your account, this is your welcome screen. It's going to show you, what information is private. It's telling you all of this is private. Your public information is always on the Contact Info tab, and you can edit or change any of that information as well. You can also review any of this criteria that you designated at the beginning, like your background checks or application fee. If that information changes, you can easily edit it. And the very first time you go to add a property, you won't see this tab, the Update Property, that only appears after we have properties in the listing. But if we click on the Add Property tab, now this one already gives us a couple cities to choose from because it's where we already have properties in this account. But the first time you'll just pick where you want to list the rental property. When you click on Add Listing, then it's going to let you pick the city where the property is located, and then it's going to take you into the Add Property form. So this is where I was talking about there's only 15 required fields, and they're all designated with this blue asterisk. So you know we have to fill in this property is available, what's the date that it's going to be available for rent, what type of property is it, the property address. We want to fill that in as well. And these are all pretty straightforward. And once you fill in those 15 required fields, you can submit the form at the very bottom of the page. You don't have to fill everything else out if you don't want to. And if you skipped any fields, it's also going to tell you which ones that you missed that are required. And at the bottom is also the section where you have to add the other amenities and features. See, it tells me everything that I skipped on that one. I'm not going to add a new one because I want to show you first. Now it also tells me that I have an incomplete listing, so I could go back in and fix that listing that I didn't finish. But if you go to your Update Property, it's going to break down your properties by your available, waiting list. If you have properties that are rented, you'll see a rented column, or you can do them specifically by building or complex. If I click on all my properties, it's going to show me the properties that I have in my account and what their status is. These are all available. Now for the large multifamily providers, this is where it would say waiting list are available, and you'll notice we have 27 total units, 0 available. This is an inventory tool for you on the back side of the system. Again, this is never publicly viewable. The public will never know how many units you have, and your listing only appears one time, whether the status is available or waiting list. If you need to change your availability, you can click on those numbers, and it says, here's our total, how many do we currently have available. Maybe I have 2 coming open. We're going to take it off a waiting list, and hit click here to continue. Now I can go back to editing this particular listing or back to update all my listings. And now this one should say available. I have 2 vacancies, but again, it will only appear one time on the list. After you create your listings as well, you can always just click on the address to see what it looks like from the public view. So you want to know, what does this look like when the public comes here? Maybe I would definitely want to add some more pictures, but I can scroll through and see, okay, well, when the public comes to my listing, here's the information that I currently have. See if there's anything that I want to change or if everything looks good to me. And that's just by clicking on the address. If I want to edit or change anything, I'm going to click Edit. And then it's going to say, what do you want to do? Do you want to edit your listing? Do I want to change how many are available? Do I want to add pictures? From this page, I'm going to go into Edit Listing. It brings us back to that same form we saw for Add Property. And I can change anything that I want to make different on my listing. Now, if you're listing an apartment complex, I do want to point out you always want to put the complex name in this field. That's what allows you to tell us how many total units you have and how many you have available. And it's also going to designate to us that you need to be on that longer update cycle versus those individual units that are listed on the website. The other thing that I want to point out are there are 3 options for how to list your rent, and you're only going to use one. The first one is $20 a month. I think that was a typo. The first thing that it shows is a standard flat monthly rent. So we can put in the rent amount in here if it's just a flat amount that we're asking, and the security deposit. If the rent is on a sliding scale, we can put the range, and we can mark whether that's based on income or something else. And if you do have a medium income based or tax credit property based on medium income, you can list it by the percentage of income. As you continue to scroll down, you'll see a couple more required fields, and then you're almost done with the required fields. If you do want to promote to Section 8, you can check this familiar with the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, and then you'll get the Section 8 icon on your listings. You can tell us things like if you're seniors only and what the age restrictions are, what utilities are included. And the very last required field just asks you if there's a stove included and what type. Then we can continue to go through and check off other amenities and features that are included in the property. Information about the entryway, that's important for those accessible searches. And other information about the doorway or access to the unit, as well as accessibility features in the bathroom and the kitchen. If there's accessible parking, you can also designate that. And again, if you don't have accessibility features, of course, you can just skip over those fields. Once we've filled out all the information and typed in any comments that we want, click here to continue, and then that listing is, well, we already know it. Oops. It already knows our total units. I don't know why that got so big. Sorry about that, guys. But it already knew our total units, but we could tell it the total number of units. And now we could continue to edit the listing. We could edit our pictures or add additional pictures. If I go to add or manage pictures, it shows us the pictures we already have. It's really easy to add pictures. It's just like any other application. We're going to choose the file off of our computer. We're going to pick what it should be called, or you can type in your own description and then just hit click here to continue. The other thing that you can do when you're actually looking at one of your listings, so at Sunnyside Apartments, I have 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Whether you're listing a duplex property or a large multifamily complex, if you're listing an additional bedroom size at the same location, or maybe it's an identical bedroom size at the same location. We have a cloning tool that you can use that really saves you a lot of time. So I would have used the cloning tool to generate these 2-bedroom listings after I created the 1-bedroom. But also, let's say I have 3 bedrooms at this location. I'm going to duplicate or clone this listing. It's going to say, do you want to keep the same building name? Do I want to reuse the existing pictures? Do I need the same address? Maybe it's a duplex. I'm just going to change my unit number. But this is an apartment, and now I want to list my 3 2s. It's going to clone all the amenities and features that I provided for my 2 bedrooms. I'm going to change my total number of units and my availability. And, of course, the rent amount is going to change. Now, I created an entire listing, and that's the only information that I had to provide. I can then edit that listing. So if I want to go in and there's a couple other things I want to change, I can go in here and go to the section where I need to change something, but all this information has already been added for me. So that's a tool that can really save you a lot of time. And then again, we are happy to do the listings for you over the phone. We can get the information from you over the phone. If you are a large provider and you have multiple properties and it seems kind of daunting to get them all in the system, we'll work with you individually. If your listing information is somewhere else online, we can input them for you, or if you can send us the information, we're happy to input it, and then you can go in and check it or add additional information. We can pull pictures for you offline, or you can send us the pictures. So don't, if you have a lot of properties and you're like, I don't have the time to sit down and enter these, we can really work with you on the best way to get your properties in the system. If you have multiple sites and you need each manager to get set up, you can send us the manager's contact information and just shoot the manager an email and let them know we're going to call them to get the rest of the property details. And we'll call each site, set it up, and get the property listed for you, and you don't have to do that on your own. Now, in addition to the cloning tool, anytime you're inside of one of your listings and you're on the edit listing page, of course we can go ahead and change the property to rented. We can duplicate, clone the property. We can add the picture that we just saw. We can generate an online listing posting. So maybe I just created the listing on here, but I want to put it on Craigslist or some other online classified tool. I can click right here. And it's going to do the very basic information about the unit, but it's going to create a link to your specific unit with the unit ID number. And I can just go log into my online classifieds tool, copy and paste this, and put it in there, type in anything else that I want to include. But it says, for full details, click this link here, and it'll bring them back to your full listing on IowaHousingSearch. Also, this section where you can see the public view, just like we did when we clicked on the address, and unfortunately this is just a demo account, so I can't show you this, but right here where it says analytics, you can go into your account and click on any of your listings and view the analytics. That's going to show you how many times your property has been found in a search over a certain period of times, and it breaks it down by day. It's also going to show you how many times people clicked on the address to view the full property details. Ideally, we want those numbers to be very close to each other. If people are finding it, you want them to be clicking on it and going in and looking at it. If they're not, it's probably because you don't have pictures. Listings without pictures get clicked on at a far lower ratio, and we would make that suggestion to you. But you can view the analytics and listing information for all your property listings just by going under the edit function for the specific property. Now again, if it has a specific date available, we update that every 14 days, large multifamily on a 30-day or 28-day basis, unless you are on a very long wait list, and we can put you on the longer update cycle. And that's a very quick overview of the tool. You can also click on the statistics tab, and it just kind of breaks down what you have listed, the total number of units, total number available, and breaks down some of your stats per location in here for you as well. And at this point, I want to ask if anybody has any questions or open it up for questions.
And you go ahead and type your questions right into the questions box, and I'll get those to Crystal so she can answer them.
Yeah, so if anyone has a question, as Emily said, you can type it in the questions box, and then she'll get that to me so I can answer it. And again, after the webinar, I'll send out a follow-up email for everyone. That's going to have my contact information. If you do, like I said, have an inventory, whether it's large or just a couple properties, but you don't want to go online and list them all yourself, or you want to talk about how we can expedite the process for getting your properties on the website without you having to sit down and do them all, please contact me directly. I'm happy to talk to you about that and work out the best way to get your listings in the system. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you with that process and make it as easy as possible for you.
Thanks so much, Crystal. I'm not seeing any questions come in, so at this time I'm going to thank you so much for being on the line and participating in the webinar this morning. If there are additional follow-up questions that maybe you're shy to ask over the webinar, like Crystal said, she'll follow up and you can ask those of her directly, or you can contact myself or Ashley Jarrett here at the Iowa Finance Authority, and we'll help you find that answer. So thank you so much, and thank you to Crystal.
Yep, and thank you guys. Thank you for joining the call today.